Maya was only 10 when she first noticed the shadows. Not the ordinary kind that clung to corners or stretched across walls when the moonlight slipped through the curtains, but shadows that moved with a will of their own, shadows that breathed. Her house was not an old one. It wasn't the kind of place that carried the weight of history like the creaking farmhouses she'd seen on drives through the countryside. It was a tidy, modern home built in the 1990s, tucked safely into a quiet suburban neighborhood. The walls were painted beige, the carpet was soft, and the ceilings carried the faint smell of fresh paint from a recent renovation. Everything about it screamed safety, stability, comfort, and yet the closet in Maya's bedroom told a different story. It was an ordinary sliding door closet with mirrored panels that reflected the room whenever she turned on her lamp. During the day, it seemed harmless. She stuffed her clothes in there, stacked her shoes at the bottom, and kept a collection of stuffed animals perched on the top shelf. But at night, the closet became something else, something waiting. The first time she noticed it, her father had been reading in the living room, the warm glow of the lamp spilling over his chair. Her mother had been folding laundry in the hallway. Maya had been drifting in and out of a light sleep when she heard the faintest creak, like wood bending under pressure. Her eyes fluttered open. The closet door had slid open an inch. Her heart gave a nervous flutter. She stared at the sliver of darkness between the mirrored panels, her child's mind inventing possibilities. Maybe the wind, maybe she'd forgotten to shut it all the way. But then she saw movement inside, a pale outline like someone standing perfectly still among her dresses and jackets. Her lips trembled. "Mom," she whispered. From the hallway, she heard her mother's voice call back, "Yes, honey." But the voice wasn't coming from the closet. It was coming from behind her, outside the bedroom. Maya's breath caught in her throat. She turned her head toward the door. Her mother appeared in the frame, arms full of neatly folded shirts, her expression warm and tired. When Maya looked back at the closet, the pale outline was gone. The silence that followed. Children forget things. That's what her parents said. Later, when she finally told them, her father chuckled and ruffled her hair, saying, "You've got your mother's imagination." Her mother insisted she'd simply been dreaming and tucked her in tighter that night, promising, "Nothing bad can get you while I'm here." But the closet didn't need to move every night to make its presence known. It waited. Sometimes, when Maya lay awake staring at the ceiling, she'd hear the faint scrape of wood against wood, as though the sliding door was being nudged open from the inside. Other times, she'd swear she saw movement reflected in the mirrored panels, a flicker of pale skin, the shimmer of long hair. She grew obsessed with watching it. Every night she'd lie in bed with her blanket pulled up to her chin, eyes locked on the closet, waiting for it to betray itself. And though nights passed with nothing unusual, she could never shake the feeling that she was being watched back. One evening, when the air was heavy with the sound of summer cicadas, she heard whispering. At first she thought it was the TV in the living room. Then she realized it was coming from the closet, a low murmur, unintelligible, but undeniably there, like someone standing just behind the door, whispering her name. Maya. Her body went rigid. She couldn't tell if it was her imagination or something real. Gathering courage, she shouted, "Stop it!" The whispering cut off instantly. The silence was worse. The handprint, a week later, it happened again. But this time, there was proof. She'd been drawing at her desk with a dull pencil when the closet door creaked open by itself. She froze, staring at the inch-wide gap. Her reflection in the mirrored panel stared back at her, wide-eyed and tense. Slowly, a handprint began to form on the glass. It appeared from the inside, as though someone was pressing their palm flat against the mirrored surface. 5 pale fingers, spread wide, leaving a foggy imprint. Maya screamed, stumbling backwards so hard her chair toppled over. Her father rushed into the room, anger in his voice. "What's going on?" "The closet." Maya pointed, her chest heaving. "There's a hand." "I saw it." Her father yanked the doors open. Clothes, shoes, stuffed animals. Nothing more. He scowled. "You're scaring yourself." But Maya could still see it, the faint outline of a hand, slowly fading from the mirrored surface, as though it had been left in condensation. The photograph. That night, Maya refused to sleep in her room. Her mother let her curl up on the couch, pulling a blanket over her shoulders. But she couldn't resist looking toward the dark hallway, toward the door that led back to her bedroom. And that's when she noticed it. Above the mantel, in a row of family photographs, was one she didn't remember being taken. It showed her parents standing in the living room, smiling warmly. She stood between them, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. But in the far corner of the photo, partially hidden in the reflection of the hallway mirror, was another figure, a pale silhouette of a woman, standing very still. Her features were blurred, her skin washed white, but her posture was unmistakable. She was standing in front of Maya's bedroom closet. The fear grows. From that moment forward, Maya's fear sharpened into something deeper than childish imagination. She began refusing to sleep in her room, making excuses, feigning stomach aches. Her parents grew frustrated. They told her she needed to stop watching scary movies at sleepovers, to stop reading ghost stories. But Maya knew the truth. She wasn't bringing the fear into the house. The fear was already there. Each night, the whispering returned. Each night, the closet opened wider. And sometimes, only sometimes, she would wake to find the mirrored doors completely open, the clothes inside swaying gently as if someone had brushed past them. And once, she swore she saw someone step out. Maya tried to tell herself it wasn't real. That's what everyone wanted her to believe. Kids imagined things. Closets creaked. Shadows looked like people when your eyes were tired. But deep inside, she knew the thing in the closet wasn't her imagination. It was waiting for her. Night, terrors. The next week was a blur of restless nights. Maya begged her parents to let her leave a lamp on, but they said it would mess with her sleep cycle. When she insisted something lived in the closet, her father snapped, "There's nothing there. Do you want me to take the doors off so you can see for yourself?" The idea terrified her even more. No doors meant it would be easier for whatever lurked inside to come out. That night, she woke with her throat tight, a scream clawing to get out, but unable to form. The room was suffocatingly dark, except for the faint glow of moonlight, and the closet doors were wide open. Her eyes adjusted slowly to the shapes inside, dresses hanging limp, shoes scattered below, stuffed animals staring blankly, and, behind them, something taller than her father, pressed against the back wall. Two eyes glimmered faintly in the dark. Maya bolted upright. The figure didn't move, but its presence pressed against her chest, heavy and suffocating. Trembling, she reached for the lamp switch. Her hand brushed it. Light flooded the room. The closet was empty. The scratch by morning, she tried to convince herself she'd dreamt it. But when she opened her dresser to get dressed for school, she found something that made her stomach churn. Across the wooden surface of her nightstand, carved deep into the varnish, were 5 jagged scratches. They hadn't been there yesterday. She ran to show her parents. Her father frowned, touching the grooves. "Did you do this? With scissors, maybe?" "No," Maya cried. "It wasn't me. It was the closet." Her mother's patience thinned. "Enough. You're scaring yourself. Stop." But they didn't sleep in her room. They didn't hear the whispers. They didn't feel the icy air that seeped out every night. The babysitter, one Friday evening, Maya's parents went out for dinner and left her with a babysitter, a high school girl named Lily. Lily wasn't much older than Maya's cousins, and she rolled her eyes when Maya tried to explain about the closet. "You think there's a ghost in your closet," she teased. "That's like every horror movie ever. Don't worry, nothing's gonna happen." But around midnight, Lily wasn't laughing anymore. Maya had fallen asleep on the couch, refusing to go upstairs. Lily sat scrolling on her phone when she heard the creak of wood above, the distinct sound of a sliding door. She froze. Slowly, she muted her phone. The creak came again, louder this time, followed by a soft thud. From the corner of her eye, she saw Maya stirring, whispering in her sleep, "Don't open it. Don't let her out." Lily swallowed hard, summoning her courage, and climbed the stairs. The hallway was silent, but the moment she reached Maya's door, a cold draft brushed her skin. The closet doors were wide open, and in the mirrored panel, Lily swore she saw someone standing directly behind her. She spun around. The hallway was empty. When she turned back, the doors were closed. Lily refused to babysit again after that night. She didn't tell Maya's parents why. The photograph returns weeks passed. The atmosphere in the house grew tense. Maya was exhausted from lack of sleep, her parents frustrated with her constant complaints. They tried nightlights, lavender sprays, even prayer. Nothing changed. Then, one Saturday afternoon, Maya found another photograph. It was tucked under her pillow. A glossy print, the kind her family used to pick up from the pharmacy. In it, she was standing in her bedroom, fast asleep in her bed. The photo had been taken from inside the closet, a mother's shadow. That night, Maya woke to a familiar sound, the whisper of her name. She sat up, heart pounding. The closet door slid open, just an inch. "Maya." The voice was her mother's. Relief washed over her for a moment, until she realized her mother was out of town that night, staying with Maya's grandmother. Still, the voice came again, warm, coaxing. "It's just me, sweetheart. Don't be afraid. Come here." Her throat went dry. She could see the faint outline of a figure now, tall and slim, shaped like her mother. The shadow lifted an arm and beckoned. Against every instinct, Maya whispered, "Mom?" "Yes," the figure replied. But as it stepped forward, the outline warped. The features twisted into something too long, too thin. The smile stretched wider than any human mouth should allow. Maya screamed until her father burst in, flipping on the light. The closet was empty. The lock after that night, her father finally took her seriously. He bought a heavy padlock and installed it on the sliding doors, securing them shut. For the first time in weeks, Maya felt like she could breathe. But locks can't keep out shadows. On the second night, she woke to the sound of metal groaning. The lock rattled violently, shaking against the doors as if something inside was clawing to get out. Then came the voice, not her mother's this time, a whisper, raspy and low. "Let me out." The padlock rattled again the next night, and the night after that. Every time, Maya pulled her blankets tighter, squeezing her eyes shut, pretending she didn't hear the soft voice slithering through the crack. But she did hear it. Sometimes it was pleading, "Please, I'm cold." Other times it was angry, "You can't keep me here." And sometimes, worst of all, it was playful, mimicking her own voice, whispering in perfect imitation, "Maya, come play with me." The school counselor, Maya's teachers noticed the bags under her eyes, her slipping grades, the way she jumped at every sudden sound. Eventually, she was sent to the school counselor. Sitting in the office, with its soft yellow walls and motivational posters, Maya tried to explain, "There's someone in my closet. She, she looks like my mom sometimes, but she's not. She wants me to come with her." The counselor nodded kindly, but with the practiced skepticism of an adult speaking to a frightened child. Sometimes our brains trick us when we're under stress. Have you considered that? Maya shook her head violently. "No, she's real. She takes pictures. She leaves them for me." The counselor's smile faltered just a fraction. "Pictures?" Maya hesitated. She hadn't brought the photo. Her father had burned it in the kitchen sink, muttering angrily that someone must have been playing a cruel prank. But she remembered the smell of scorched plastic, the way the image had curled and blackened. The counselor made notes on her clipboard, nodding. "We'll talk to your parents." But talking never helped. The visitor, one night, Maya's father, woke to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. He assumed it was Maya sneaking to the kitchen for water. But when he opened his door, he saw her bedroom door standing wide open. The lock was still in place on the closet, yet the doors had slid open anyway, the metal latch hanging broken on the floor, and in the center of the room stood a figure. It looked like his wife, same height, same dark hair, but her back was to him, and something about the posture was wrong. The arms hung too long, the neck bent at an unnatural angle. "Maya," the figure whispered in his wife's voice. He froze. His real wife was asleep, in their bed. When he flicked the light switch, the figure was gone. The research. For the first time, Maya's father admitted something was happening. He didn't know what, but the denial that had shielded him cracked wide open. He stayed up late on the computer, searching forums, reading about hauntings, doppelgangers, shadow people. He found a thread about the closet woman, an urban legend whispered on paranormal boards. The story went that if you left your closet open at night, sometimes she came. She looked like someone you trusted, someone you loved. She lured you closer, and if you stepped into the dark with her, You never came back out. No one knew what she really was. A ghost, a demon, a figment of collective imagination. But the warnings were always the same. Never answer her. Never let her touch you. Never follow her into the closet. The sleepover. Maya thought maybe if her friends came over, the closet would leave her alone. Ghosts didn't like witnesses, she reasoned. So one Friday, two of her classmates, Emma and Sarah, slept over. They brought popcorn, nail polish, and a stack of scary movies. By midnight, the three of them lay sprawled across the floor in sleeping bags, whispering and giggling. Sarah dared Maya to open the closet, just to prove she wasn't making everything up. Maya's stomach dropped. No, we can't. Emma rolled her eyes. Come on, it's just a closet. Before Maya could stop her, Sarah slid the doors open. The inside was ordinary. Clothes, shoes, stuffed animals, but colder, much colder, like a freezer. See? Sarah laughed nervously. Nothing. That night, Sarah woke to the sound of someone calling her name. She assumed it was Emma, but when she rolled over, Emma was asleep. She looked toward the closet. A tall figure stood inside, pale arms reaching out. The next morning, Sarah was pale and silent. She refused to talk about what she saw. But when her mother picked her up, Maya noticed something on Sarah's wrist. 5 red marks, shaped like fingers, as if someone had grabbed her too tightly. Sarah never came back to Maya's house again. The dream after that, Maya began to dream of the closet almost every night. Sometimes she was standing inside, surrounded by endless rows of clothing that stretched into darkness. Sometimes she was trapped behind the mirrored door, pounding to get out while her sleeping body lay in bed across the room. And sometimes she saw the woman, her mother's face twisted, eyes hollow, mouth smiling too wide, arms outstretched, whispering, "Come with me, Maya. It's safe here. We'll be together forever." She always woke up gasping, drenched in sweat, clutching her blanket like a lifeline. The tipping point, one stormy night, the whispers grew louder, the closet doors rattled violently, the padlock snapping free, as if it had never been there. Her parents rushed in, flicking the light on. But before they could reach her, the figure stepped out. For the first time, it crossed the threshold, tall, impossibly thin, its skin pale as paper, its mouth stretched open in a smile that seemed to split its face. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dark, fixed on Maya. Her parents froze, their voices dying in their throats. And then, just as suddenly, the light flickered and the figure vanished. But not before it whispered, right into Maya's ear. Soon, the house never felt the same after that night. It wasn't just Maya anymore. Her parents had seen it too, had felt the temperature drop, had heard the whispers, had watched the figure step from the closet like it belonged in their world. No one mentioned it at breakfast. No one wanted to. But silence didn't erase the truth. The visit to Grandma's, desperate for answers, Maya's mother suggested they visit her own mother, Maya's grandmother, who lived 2 towns over. Grandma was old-fashioned, deeply religious, the type who kept rosaries above every doorway and jars of holy water on her nightstand. The moment Maya's parents explained what had been happening, Grandma crossed herself, her face drained of color. "You shouldn't have stayed in that house. she whispered. What do you mean? Maya's father asked, Grandma's eyes fixed on Maya. Some closets are doorways. My own sister, she vanished when we were little. Said there was a woman in her closet who looked just like me. One night, she followed her in. Maya's stomach lurched. Did she come back? Her grandmother's lips pressed into a thin line. No, not her. But sometimes I think something else did. The research deepens back home. Maya's father buried himself in research again. He found newspaper archives about missing children, stories going back decades. In many of them, the last time anyone saw the child, they'd been at home, in their own bedroom. Parents swore the kids had vanished into thin air. Some of the old clippings mentioned an imaginary friend or a woman in the closet. The dates stretched back further than seemed possible, over a century, different towns, different houses, but the same pattern. Maya's father stopped sleeping. He kept the computer on, late into the night, the glow of the screen painting his face a ghostly blue. The shadow in the daylight until now, the thing had only come at night. But one Saturday morning, as Maya was brushing her teeth, she saw movement in the hallway mirror. Her reflection was brushing her teeth, but behind her stood the woman, towering, grinning, one hand on Maya's shoulder. Maya spun around. The hallway was empty. Her toothbrush clattered into the sink. The dog, in a last-ditch attempt to bring comfort to Maya, her parents adopted a dog, a golden retriever puppy, named Sunny. Surely, they thought, a loyal companion would help her sleep, help her feel safe. At first, it worked. Sunny curled at the foot of Maya's bed, his warm body a shield against the cold. But a week later, Maya woke to the sound of growling. Sunny stood rigid at the foot of the bed, teeth bared, fur bristling, his eyes locked on the closet. The doors creaked open slowly, though the new lock her father had installed was still latched. The woman's whisper filled the room. Sunny lunged, barking furiously. The closet door slammed shut with such force the mirror cracked. The next morning, Sunny wouldn't go near Maya's room. He avoided the hallway entirely, whimpering whenever he passed by. The ultimatum her parents considered moving, but finances made it impossible. They were stuck. The house wouldn't sell, not with the market the way it was. So Maya's father gave the family an ultimatum. We confront it. We end this tonight. He dug out an old Bible, bought candles, and sprinkled salt across Maya's doorway. He told her not to be afraid, but his hands trembled as he worked. That night, the three of them sat in Maya's room, the candles flickering, the Bible open on the desk. For hours, nothing happened, just silence and the faint hum of the refrigerator downstairs. Then, at exactly 3:12 a.m., the closet rattled. The doors strained against the lock. The air turned icy. The candles guttered out all at once. And then came the voice. Not her mother's, not her own. A chorus of voices, dozens layered together, whispering from behind the door. She belongs to us. The breach, the lock snapped. The doors flew open. The woman stepped out. But this time, she wasn't alone. Shadows poured from the closet, spilling across the carpet like liquid smoke. Faces formed and dissolved in the darkness. Pale hands reaching, grasping, Maya screamed. Her mother clutched her tight. Her father shouted prayers, voice cracking. The woman leaned down, her too wide smile glinting in the dark. Come, Maya, she hissed. You've kept me waiting long enough. The shadows surged forward. The Bible flew from the desk, its pages scattering, the salt lines smudged under invisible feet. And in that moment, Maya realized the closet wasn't just a hiding place. It was a doorway. The air in Maya's bedroom was so cold, she could see her own breath. Shadows writhed across the floor, twisting into shapes that looked almost human. Her father tried to shield her, clutching the Bible again, but the pages whipped violently, as if caught in a storm. Her mother sobbed, pressing Maya's face into her shoulder. But Maya couldn't look away. The woman stood tall in the center of the chaos, her two long limbs stretching, her head cocked at an angle that no neck could hold. That smile split her pale face like a wound. Doorways open both ways, the woman whispered. It's time for her to see. Pulled in, the shadows surged like a wave. Maya felt a dozen cold hands wrap around her ankles, her wrists, her shoulders. She screamed, clawing at her mother's arms. But the strength of the thing was impossible to fight. Her father lunged forward, shouting words from the Bible. For a moment, the shadow shrank back, hissing like animals. But then the woman hissed, too, her voice 1,000 voices echoing in the small room. Enough. With one violent jerk, Maya was yanked toward the closet. The carpet burned under her heels as she was dragged across the floor. Her father grabbed her hand, but the pull was stronger, and then she was gone, swallowed by the dark. The other side silence. Maya opened her eyes to find herself standing in a place that looked like her bedroom, but wrong. The walls were damp, streaked with mold. Her toys lay broken, scattered across the warped floor. The mirror of the closet reflected nothing at all. The air was heavy, wet, and it smelled of rot. Mama, she whispered. No answer. From the corner of the room, something moved. Dozens of figures stood pressed against the walls, their faces pale and indistinct. Children, their eyes empty, their mouths slightly open as if caught mid-breath. They watched her, but didn't move. And then she heard it, the whispering, 1,000 voices, all at once, coming from every corner of the room. Stay, stay, stay. The woman revealed. The woman appeared from the shadows, her limbs bent wrong, her face flickering between shapes. Sometimes her mother, sometimes her teacher, sometimes herself. Do you see? She asked, her grin stretching impossibly wide. They're all mine. They came through the door just like you. And now, they stay. I want to go home, Maya whispered, her voice breaking. The woman crouched, bringing her face level with Maya's. Home is here. Home is the dark. You'll never be lonely again. One of the pale children reached out, brushing Maya's arm with icy fingers. She jerked back, tears stinging her eyes. The father's gamble. Meanwhile, in the real bedroom, Maya's father was losing his mind. He pounded against the open closet, shouting her name, but the dark was solid, impenetrable. His wife begged him to stop. She's gone. She's gone. No, he roared. She's still in there. I can feel it. He grabbed the cracked mirror from the closet door and smashed it to the ground. Shards scattered across the carpet. For a split second, He swore he saw his daughter's reflection staring back at him from one of the shards, eyes wide with terror. He made a choice. Without hesitation, he stepped into the dark. The chase Maya ran. She didn't know where she was running to. There were no doors, no windows, just endless rooms that all looked like distorted versions of her home, each one rotting, filled with silent children watching her pass. The woman followed, her limbs bending and snapping as she crawled across the ceiling like a spider. Don't fight it, Maya. Don't run. You'll only make it worse. The whispering grew louder, pressing into her skull. She stumbled, hands scraping across a floor sticky with black mold. And then, hands grabbed her from behind. She screamed, thrashing, until she realized it wasn't the woman. It was her father, Maya. His face was pale, eyes wide with terror, but alive. I've got you. I'm here. For a moment, she believed they could escape. The bargain? The woman slithered closer, her smile splitting into something more monstrous, teeth too sharp, too many. You don't belong here, she hissed at the father. But she does. She was marked. She's mine. You can't have her, he shouted, pulling Maya close. The woman tilted her head, then trade. He froze. What? One for one, she purred. A soul for a soul. You walk away. You leave her. Or you stay forever. And she goes free. Maya shook her head violently. No, Daddy. Don't listen to her. Her father's eyes brimmed with tears. He kissed her forehead, holding her tight. I'll never leave. You, baby. Never. But the woman only smiled wider. The pull, the shadows surged again, wrapping around them both. Maya clutched her father's shirt, screaming as they were dragged back toward the rotting closet. Her father shouted prayers, his voice raw, his arms around her like iron. The children's whispers grew deafening, and then light. For the briefest second, Maya saw the glow of candles, her mother's desperate face in the distance, reaching through the dark, and then everything collapsed. The light was faint, but it was there, like a crack in a sealed tomb. Maya clung to her father as the shadows dragged them deeper, but the glow from beyond the doorway grew stronger with every heartbeat. Maya, her mother's voice rang out, cutting through the whispers. Hold on, don't let go, the woman hissed, her grin faltering for the first time. The children pressed closer, their pale hands clawing at Maya's arms, her hair, her clothes. The bargain was breaking. The fracture. Her father shoved Maya toward the light. Go, he shouted. Run! No, Daddy, go! The shadows surged, trying to tear them apart. Maya stumbled forward, reaching for the crack of light. She could see her mother's outline, her arms stretched desperately into the dark. Behind her, the woman roared. The sound was wrong, like metal grinding against stone, like glass shattering inside her skull. The walls of the rotting room trembled. The children began to scream, their empty eyes filling with sudden agony. The doorway was collapsing. The escape Maya's fingers brushed her mother's. For a heartbeat, she thought she'd be ripped away. Then, with one violent pull, her mother yanked her through. They tumbled onto the bedroom floor, gasping for air. The closet slammed shut with a thunderous crack that shook the house. The lock lay shattered. The mirror split into a dozen fractured shards. But Maya was back. She was home. Only her father hadn't come with her. The empty chair. For days afterward, Maya sat by her father's favorite chair, waiting. She thought maybe he would step out of the closet the way she had. Maybe he'd find another crack of light and crawl through. But the closet stayed silent. Her mother stopped talking about it. She avoided the bedroom entirely, moving Maya's things into the guest room. But Maya couldn't forget, because at night, when the house was quiet, she still heard her father's voice, not calling for help, not praying, whispering. From the closet, the return, a week later, the whispers changed. They weren't just her father's anymore. They multiplied, layered voices, all murmuring the same words. Doorways open both ways. Maya sat frozen in her new bed, her blanket clutched under her chin. The guest room didn't even have a closet, yet she could feel it, the pull, the cold draft against her neck. The shadows didn't need doors anymore. She saw it then, her father's silhouette, standing in the corner of the room, his face hidden, his posture stiff. "Daddy," she whispered. Slowly, his head turned. His eyes gleamed faintly in the dark. Too bright, too sharp. His smile was wrong. Too wide, too much like hers. The woman's smile, the realization, Maya's breath caught in her throat. She understood, too late. Her father hadn't escaped. He hadn't stayed behind. He had become part of the closet. And now, so had she. Because when she looked in the mirror, the next morning, her reflection didn't smile. When she did, it smiled first.